it's definitely a good step. As we talk about criminal justice reform and we talk about, making sure the right resources are being given to the right people, it makes sense to have a mental health professional available to the police department. And we are seeing more and more of this happening across not only our region, but the country. And it's just another example of how Cheektowaga has been ahead of the game when it comes to, being progressive with reform and criminal justice reform. So uh, Endeavor is a great partner with us. I know that their CEO has been active trying to find funding to help support this program with the goal of eventually it being a program that's not an expense to the town. So, as budgets get tighter and tighter, we realize that you have tough decisions to make. I just really wanted to stress that your funds are being well spent in this program, and hopefully eventually at some point, the funding will come from sources outside of Cheektowaga as well. So if there's any questions, I do have Nick and Sarah still here with me, and we'd be happy to answer them.
Council members, any questions?
Brian, I just have a comment on my end that I've worked with you and Sarah on this from the beginning. And I just want to say how excited I am and what a wonderful job you guys are doing. Unfortunately, I just wish that it was better back in the day when Danny was going through it, because back in the day, it wasn't like that. And you weren't able to get help as fast as you can now. And I'm glad to see things moving forward so greatly. So kudos to the two of you for a great job you're doing in Cheektowaga.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor. And I can honor that statement you just made, because my daughter too, with the mental health issues, it was so hard to maneuver through the system. And it's like a puzzle that you have to try to put together where to get the help. People don't know. And now the town of Cheektowaga Police Department and Endeavor are helping these people maneuver the system and telling them where to go for the help. So I echo your response, Councilmember Adams-Ack. Did I hear Brian Pilarski? Councilmember Pilarski wanted to comment?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Supervisor. No questions, just a comment. I mean, great job by all. I mean, Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor, when you guys, presented this and proposed it, I mean, I was excited about it. It's a no-brainer. But then to see the return on investment for it, the follow-ups, the advocacy, the continued care, the crisis care, finding shelter for others. I mean, to me, it's an investment that is well made by the town into its residents for mental health and everything else we just went over there. So great job for the town of Cheektowaga and the police force and Sarah. I mean, when I saw the press conference with the city of Buffalo, I immediately texted the assistant chief Gould and I said, "Oh my goodness, is Sarah leaving us?" And then he filled me and he goes, "Yeah, the city of Buffalo and Tonawanda, they're replicating our program." And that's great news to hear that we set the standard and they're replicating our program and our services. So great job by all involved.
Thank you.
Hello, Brian.
Yeah, we have Councilmember Rusniak.
Yeah, Brian and Sarah, I appreciate the help you guys gave us. And the follow-up program is working great. The kid's on a straight and narrow right now. We're going to keep them there. Just keep up the good work. Thanks.
Any other
Yeah,
council
let's see,
members?
Yeah, I've got one question.
Councilmember Noack. Okay.
Yeah, like Councilmember Pilarski said, it's a great sign that other towns and the city of Buffalo are replicating what we're doing here in Cheektowaga, and in the town of Cheektowaga is being a leader on these things again. And the assistant chief knows, and we've had these discussions as recently as yesterday about getting the appropriate resources when you're on any calls as a first responder to every incident. You want the appropriate resources. So in that spirit, I'm asking this question, that with embedding social workers and Endeavor into the police department, we're introducing these folks and recognizing the mental health element in the work that the police department does. They're being asked to do a lot of things with limited resources. So there's obviously times where we want Endeavor to get involved in some of these calls. and this is for Sarah and for Nick, are there situations or times, or can you talk about any situations or times where it might be the other way around, where we may have too many resources going to a call, where maybe we only need a mental health professional to respond to something and we don't need the mental health professional and the police department? Because we're talking about adding resources in some of these calls. Are there times where it's happening on the other side of the coin?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great question, and I applaud you for asking it. One of the great things, so it's almost a twofold answer in that one of the things about being embedded currently is that we are able to handle that call totally with the mental health professional. So as an example, because these embedded clinicians have access to the same systems that law enforcement does, we can watch a call coming in to 911 for somebody who might be expressing suicidal thoughts or experiencing a mental health crisis. And before patrol is even dispatched, we can make a phone call to that particular household or individual and do as much intervention work at that point before we even get another layer of services involved. You know, I think in a perfect world, if people in the community were able to stop calling 911 for behavioral health crisis and just call mental health professionals, that would be wonderful. But because right now we're in a system in society where we see that default being 911, we just want to make sure that we're partnering with, not necessarily to add another layer of service, but just to make sure that when that one service is received, all of the answers are housed within that one response, and to make sure that that's cohesive enough. So it's not as much adding as much as it is supplementing the current response and what that looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members? Okay, well, thank you so much, Assistant Chief Gould, Sarah, and Nick. It was a wonderful presentation. I just wish everybody could have seen the slideshow, but maybe we can put it up on our website. If you can get that over to Kim Burst.
Yeah, we'll touch base on that. And, again, I apologize for the technology issues
It
with Zoom,
happened.
but
I know.
yeah, but as things get back to normal, hopefully in the somewhat near future, we'd be happy to do a more public presentation. We want to get Nick out in the community, let people know his face and know what resources are available, just like we did when Sarah started here. So once we see senior center meetings back on and community organizations such as Duca and stuff like that, we'll be happy to be making the rounds with Nick and the presentation to the community.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you again, all. It was very nice to hear this presentation. So let's move on to our next one. I have Deputy Supervisor Adamczak had requested to talk about the towing fees along with Councilmember Linda Hammer.
Correct. And we do have Bernie Rusniak with us.
Hi, Bernie.
the
Hi.
Assistant Chief
Hey,
with us.
Mark Quaitzer with me as well, just.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
So, Councilwoman Linda Hammer and myself met with the Assistant Chief and Bernie and Mark last week. And we invited them to the work session so that the council members can ask their questions about the towing fees that we received, I think last work session. And we kind of went over some of them last week with Bernie and Mark. So I'm going to open it up to the board if they have any questions for Bernie. And Bernie, you can explain the fees, how you came about with the numbers that you did also.
Okay, so
So-
why don't we start with Bernie first to explain
Okay.
it to us?
Basically, it's just a general rate increase across the board. The cost of equipment, fuel's going down right now, but the cost of equipment and cost of staffing these vehicles is getting crazy. Nobody wants to work, especially at nighttime on weekends and holidays. There is really no particular formula, but just to give you an example, I just bought 2 flatbed trucks just for hauling cars from a wreck. My cost was $110,000 per truck. That does not include the lettering of the truck or putting in 2-way radios or insuring the trucks or staffing the trucks or having a house for them to be worked on or washed or dispatched or anything. So you can play around with numbers all day long, but If you took a truck, I would say 400 calls a day would be about an average. It's $25 just per call, just for the truck itself. You pay somebody hourly, 25, 30 bucks an hour. You're probably looking $200-300 a day just to staff it, which has to be staffed 24/7, 365. So the numbers are all over the place. You can analyze them any way you want, but we just feel it's a good, fair rate across the board. And I was talking at the meeting with Chris and Linda. I'm very active in the towing community throughout the state. I represent the Western New York region as a vice president for ESTRA, Empire State Towing and Recovery Association. So I'm very aware of the rates across the state. And I know where we're at is very fair. There's some places that are ridiculously, some facilities, some towers are ridiculously expensive that take advantage of the situations. And there's some that are less, but I think it's a very fair proposal to our citizens and to the towers themselves.
Bernie,
Yes.
Linda Hammer. I just had a couple questions and a couple things I would like to point out to the board. Basically, what we're looking at is the Cheektowaga police towing rates. I'm looking at the one that's for passenger cars and light trucks under 10,000 pounds. The one thing that bothered me there was something new that was added, was the after-hour standard tow or flatbed service was something that was added, I believe, this year.
Yeah,
And-
it's different than it was in the past, yes.
Okay, so that was like a $225 added fee that
No.
didn't really,
It's not an added fee. It's only a difference between a 195 and a 225. It's not an additional fee. So if you tow a car from Como and Union during the day, it's
Okay.
195. If you tow the
Right,
same
right.
vehicle after hours where my guys are on commission, it's a
Okay.
$30 difference.
gotcha. And I noticed a lot of the other, I know I asked you this the other day, if you had a formula of how you increase the prices. And basically you said, no, you didn't have a formula, but you increase this a little, increase that a little. I noticed there's a fee. Did you have a fee before for the administrative fee for the mailings?
Yes.
Okay, and the 4% additional fee for the credit card processing,
That is no.
that is new. Okay, so I just wanted to point those things out. I mean, there's other things on here. It seems like you kind of broke them down more.
Yeah.
On the second page with the new rates, a lot of them were broken down more, where before they were lumped together.
Yeah, that was at the request of the police department. There was
Yeah.
some discrepancies on the billing with some of the towers in the town. And they
Mhm.
would like it more spelled out clearly.
Yeah.
So if anybody would call to complain to your board or to the police department, they can say, this is it in black and white. And it would be less apt to have any problems with any of the people that were towed.
Okay. All right, I was just, concerned about, basically about the cars that are 10,000 or below, because probably, most of your tows are.
Yeah, 95,
cars.
97% probably. would be-
Yeah. And I just, sometimes it's hard for a resident to come up with all these different fees. And not know exactly, like you said, what you're being charged for.
There's people in similar businesses that have a hard time figuring what we do too. It's definitely a different industry.
Yeah. So, okay, the rest of you, go ahead.
Bernie,
Questions?
I don't see on our resolution from 2017 an administrative fee for certified mailings.
Let me go back to it.
Maybe I'm missing it. It seems like a new one.
That first didn't even go up. for-
Well, all right, it said administrative fee, letter fee, so
Yes.
under A.
Just so you know, the reason those exist, if a car has been in our possession over a certain amount of days, I believe it's like 5 days, we are required by New York state law to notify the owner. We have to run a lien search, find out if there's a bank lien or a lien on the vehicle. There could be 1, 2, or 3 lien holders on the vehicle. We have to notify everybody by certified mail or registered first class mail that the vehicle is in our possession and storage charges will become, are being accrued, are being, whatever you want to call the word, but are being charged for in the meantime. So that's the reason for those administrative fees. There's quite a bit of time. We got to make out the letters, take them physically to the post office and have them certified.
Okay.
Got it.
Also, those fees went up pretty high to the town of Cheektowaga. Any way you can give us some leeway there? We don't have money. We don't have any.
Yeah.
extra money.
Well, basically, when there is a storm, you don't want anybody that has these vehicles to go do work elsewhere because they can get paid that rate very easily. You want to make it somewhat attractive for people to take other customers that they may have in their system and jump at the chance to go work for the town, because that's when you need us the most, is when there is a storm. This happens so very rarely. I think Brian would attest to this, that this is probably only used once every few years. Yeah, it's only a $15 difference in 3 years.
So
From
you charge, when do you charge the town? When to tow,
only in a event of a snowstorm, a national emergency, state of emergency, that's.
But wait a
where
minute.
you would
is it
request
for our vehicle or other
Oh.
people?
other people's.
You charge the town for that?
Usually you charge the town, and then the town normally, or Brian could say the same thing, a lot of times it's reimbursed by the state or federal government.
Supervisor, if I could answer that
ahead.
real fast. Just so that rate that you're looking at there, it gets used during extreme weather situations. The last time was that, God, a bunch of years ago, the major snowstorm where, say, Union Road or William Street, I think it was William Street, was totally impassable, stuck with cars buried in snow. The plows can't get down the road to plow the road because there's so many cars stuck in the snow. So basically, we contract with the towers and who work hand in hand with the snow plows and the high lifts to clear it out, and then they tow the cars to a parking lot. In that situation, they were towing cars to the Apple Tree Business Park just to get them off the street so that the streets could get open. That is when the towers end up charging the town an hourly rate. And then most of the time that's under extreme like state of emergencies anyways. So, I can't talk to the reimburse, whether those fees are reimbursed under state of emergencies, but I can tell you it's something that if we do 2 or 3 times every 10 years, that's a lot.
Brian Kraus, can you answer that? Is that covered under FEMA?
Generally, it would be something that would be reimbursed as long as we, it's contracted, that it's documented. And so, yeah, I mean, I can understand what the assistant chief is saying, and the towers, this doesn't happen regularly. And when it does happen, it's generally in a state of emergency. So it usually does get reimbursed.
If you want to, you look at normal tow is $195. When you're paying a guy hourly, we might move 3, 4, 5, or 6 cars at that same time frame, a short distance.
I'm confused why at times you charge the owner of the car and why at times you're charging the town.
Because just say, for example, we normally would tow a car from an accident scene to our lot. And we're allowed, that we be making out paperwork, getting information off the vehicle, license plate numbers, VIN numbers. And then somebody's got to come and pay the bill and make out their name and address and everything. When you do it by the hour, we just maybe jot plate numbers down only. And we just pick them up, hook them up as fast as we can, take them over to, say, the Apple Tree Mall as an example. And we can do 5 or 10 cars sometimes within an hour versus just doing one single tow. It expedites the opening of the roads, is probably the most.
Well, yes, but I'm just saying, as I don't understand why you're charging the town versus
because we're not charging the customers. We're not charging the patrons. Cars that you got people that were abandoning a car because the road is impassable, and now they're gonna be stuck for a toll fee of $195. They're actually gonna get it done for free because the road was impassable, and if the town or picks it up, or FEMA or whoever it would be. It's just an advantage, it's an advantage to the consumers. They're not getting penalized for their road being impassable.
Okay.
Rick, you were muted when you were just talking.
That's where the town, can't fill its obligation by clearing the street. So in turn, we take care of the patron by moving their car for free because they couldn't move it because of the street were impassable because we couldn't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason.
Bernie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you only take cars off the Cheektowaga streets, or do you pull them off the throughways or expressways and that stuff too? And bring them like to Apple Tree Mall?
We actually physically tow around the country. This is our.
No, I'm talking about during a storm situation where you need to get cars off the streets and, the bill is being submitted to the town of Cheektowaga. Are we just doing it on the Cheektowaga streets, or are we doing it on the, say, 33 or the 90 or, those roads too?
90,
We have
33.
multiple trucks going everywhere. We work for the state police, we work for the sheriffs. We work for different agencies, even out of Western New York. Depending on the situation, we respond anywhere. Mostly for cars though, is just strictly, mostly the thruway and local Cheektowaga. For car towing, we don't have very few contracts, but Cheektowaga for cars, except for the thruway is probably our number one.
Linda, if I could just add
Yeah.
to that hourly rate that we're discussing here, that's
Right.
only when the police department requests the tow. We're not going to request that Luzniaks comes up to the thruway to help clear the thruway. So you wouldn't be billed, the town wouldn't be billed for clearing the thruway. If we can't
Yeah.
get down Union Road, then yes, we would call the towers in to help us clear Union Road so that we can get down Union Road. So is Union a state road? Yes. However, we need that clear so that we can provide services to the community and our residents. So we would,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
that's the difference.
Yeah, the
Thank
thruway
you.
does the same thing. They hire us hourly. Sometimes even before a snowstorm starts, they'll hire us hourly, go sit at the state police barracks, say by the Kensington, to sit there whether a storm hits or not, just to be prepared to try to keep the thruway open.
Got it.
I keep hearing some background noise, but anyway, does anybody else have any questions for Bernie?
Yes, Supervisor, I got a few questions. And I'm glad Bernie's here tonight to talk a little bit about the need to raise these fees. It's been 3 or 4 years and, cost rise. It just happened. So I'm happy to revisit this. But I had 4 questions. The first was what his cost was to cover a vehicle with crash wrap. There's a fee inside of the proposal, but what's the actual cost to your company to do that job?
We buy the stuff by the roll. I don't know what it would cost, maybe
The
$5.
ballpark, I'm sorry, I'm not asking precise. I should have been clear. I understand you don't have a precise cost.
Right. Where is it up here? We got it.
75. Or 50.
That's that would be just like the time spent, whether it's a rainstorm, snowstorm, trying to get the vehicle so we can get an area to stick. It's a specialized plastic that sticks to the vehicle that we can cover side windows that are blown out or windshields that are blown out. Covering an entire vehicle is pretty rare. Usually it involves a fatality. But the crash wrap is just like the driver's time to do that. Labor is probably, $20. Probably 10, 15 bucks of material. That stuff's pretty expensive by the roll, and then a little bit of profit on that.
Okay. And I saw item number 9, there was something about Speedy Dry with a 30% markup.
Yes.
Is that standard for other towns, or is that something you guys have been doing for a while? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I don't think most towns do any of this. A lot of them, there's some towns that Brian, Chief Gould can say, some of the towns don't even address this stuff. They just go as, if it's a fair market value, they let the towers charge what they want. The reason we went to 30% markup is I buy it by the pallet. Sometimes I'll buy 50 or 100 bags, and some people just go to Napa and just buy 1 or 2. Their cost might be $15 a bag and mine might be $8. So I think just to keep it fair for everybody that's involved, we could try to went with the 30% markup.
And you've got to store it. Understood. One of the things I saw that I'm hoping we can negotiate a little bit was specifically noting a 4% fee for credit cards. And of course, this would involve the rest of the board and all the other stakeholders. I understand you've got a cost to process credit cards. And I'm not saying we get rid of this entirely, but it's just one of those things that, you know, we're talking about Speedy Dry and some of these other things that I'd like to see something like those credit card fees factored into the cost overall, and maybe to try to find a happy medium also in the after hours fees. I recognize your business model and how it's harder to find folks after hours, and you got to pay those fees. So I'm open to ideas on that too. I'm honestly open to the proposal of after hours fees. It just, especially with the credit cards, I'd like to see that worked into where we're not just setting a fee, and then if somebody happens to have cash in their pocket, they don't have to pay the extra 4%. I think the norm for most people would be to pay with a credit card. So if we have to finesse the cost a little bit or tweak them a little bit to cover your credit card cost, which I recognize, without stating the 4% fee in addition to all these other things. That's one of the things I'd personally like to see from this. But I'm glad, you know, this was presented to the board and we've got an opportunity to update these because there's a need for that.
I would be receptive, maybe just go up, you know, $5 on each tow or something like that, and eliminate the credit card fees altogether, or just go to 2%. I want to work with you. I don't want to come across as not working with you. So you tell me what you would like, and I'd be happy to try to accommodate you.
Sure, and I want to hear what the rest of the board has to say on that specifically and some of these other items. But I appreciate the flexibility. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Brian, I don't think I'd be in favor of what you just said about working it into the cost, because I don't think it's fair for everybody to pay just because some people are going to use a credit card. But I mean, it would be open to, like Bernie said, maybe a 1.5%, 2% fee for credit cards, not 4 though.
Okay, it's because I'm looking at this. I think most people that would be dealing with the tow situation would be putting it on a debit card or a credit card. So I think this would be the norm. And, you know, if we talk 2% or working it in some other way, I think that'd be a little bit better, because if we're talking about 4% on a total bill, that can be a sizable chunk of money in addition. 2% is a whole different ballgame.
If you want to make it really easy, I would be happy to just do 2%. I think I'm talking for all the towers pretty much anyway, and I got Mr. Kreutzer here that agrees with it as well. So if you guys would be more comfortable with 2%, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Okay, we'll discuss that.
Let's look into either that or a flat fee, because I know the town clerk's office is, when somebody pays by credit card, is it percentage wise or is it a flat fee?
Both.
Yeah, it's both. I think the courts have their own credit card fees. I think the tax office has their own formulas as well.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, the tax office is different. The company tells us what the fees are. They have flat rates that they charge based on whether it's $1 to $1,000 or $1,000 to $5,000, $5,000 to $10,000. So it's a percentage to pay based on how much you're spending. The town clerk's office actually absorbs the fees for people when they use their credit cards at this point. So because the charges are usually minimal, the clerk's office absorbs that for the residents.
And I think the courts do too, charge something, don't they?
3%.
3%?
So, Councilman Pilarski here. And I echo what Councilman Nowak and Linda said. I mean, my concern is we're already, let's say we pass everything and say, hey, these fees are good. I mean, some things are going up 30%. And for a 4%, credit card charge of $300, that's $12. I mean, is there would you look at just waiving that and being done with the credit card thing? Would you let something like that hold us up in negotiating?
No,
Okay,
I want to work with you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Bernie.
I appreciate it very much.
Presentation. It was very informative. So it looks like we'll be able to, I think, meet you on some of these
Yeah,
requests.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, all of you.
Mark,
Did somebody want Mark to speak?
no, I said, thank you, Mark.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark.
I was
Okay.
muted. Mark said thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. We need to go over all the board resolutions. A pretty big packet. So it doesn't look like we have any public hearings tonight, so that's a good thing. The agenda, consent agenda will consist of the following resolution items. We'll go over each one. The transfer of funds. Any questions on that? Okay, the warrant. We also need to call for the public hearing for the 2021 benefit basis budget. That'll be the next meeting, and also the preliminary ad valorem budget. Okay. Okay, the next one is Resolution 5, declaring a negative seeker declaration for the Delta Sonic expansion and the extra lots that they have purchased at Walden Avenue and on Schlenker. Then we also have the negative seeker on the William Street Heiress property for the ice cream shop. And we also will be amending the zoning map, so we have to pass a local law for that. The one local law number 2 will be for the expansion of the Delta Sonic. And the next one will be for the Heiress Avenue project. Then we also have a negative seeker. It's Resolution 9 for Phase 2 of the Garden Village Plaza development, which I was excited about. And if anybody's driven by there recently, it really looks nice, and adding the extra building now
It does.
add to it. So that's the negative seeker, and also accepting the site plan will be number 10. Number 11 will be the proposal for the GIS online implementation. I think this is for tasks including subscription, receivers, setup and training, and administration. Okay. Approve bids for town surplus vehicles. We actually got a pretty good amount of money for some of these. Is number 12. 13, Chris and I were going to pull that one, right, Chris?
Correct. Yes, correct.
So we're pulling that, Madam Clerk, Resolution 2020-366. Thank you. And 14 is the request Erie County to levy omitted taxes against properties in the town. Does anybody have any questions on that? I think Jill Murphy's on the call. And 15, Councilmember Nowak.
Yeah, everyone received my email. I spoke with the supervisor and with Councilmember Kaminsky about this, and had some discussions with folks on the EMS board and other parties. We're going to pull this item for now, reintroduce it at a later date. And I know I got confirmation from the board members earlier on their support for that. So
So they're looking at going ahead to the next term, a 1 year?
There's general support for that. I just want to make sure they have a little bit more time if they have any concerns to share those.
Mhm.
And I want to reach out to AMR to confirm. I was already been told a 1 year extension would be fine from my contact at AMR, but I want to verify what I heard. So we still have time to do that before December 31st. I want to make another contact to other parties at AMR to do that.
Yeah, I suppose that I would take, you know what, I would listen to our town attorney over AMR
Yeah, and it's
representing us. Our town attorney, AMR is not representing us, so.
right. So I want to make sure that every T's crossed, every I's dotted before we actually go forward with this. I agree with you, making
Yeah,
sure.
I would definitely talk to our town attorney Duziak about that, just to make
Sure.
sure that what AMR is telling you is the town attorney's interpretation.
Mhm.
Okay,
Diane?
we're gonna, yes, somebody get a
Diane, it's
question?
John.
Yes, John.
I just wanted to make a comment. I talked to Councilmember Nowak personally, as well as yourself. I apologize. I inadvertently failed to forward that resolution to the entire board. I had conversations regarding this, and once my office realized that there was an expiration date and a renewal time frame, we just kind of went automatic mode, and I missed the step in forwarding that to the board. So I apologize. I just wanted Councilmember Nowak to understand, that was just a snafu on my part. So apologize.
Thank you, Attorney Duziak. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, a resolution 2020-368, we will pull and bring that back at a later time. Okay,
Okay.
16 is the special event, the Trunk or Treat Drive-Through, which is happening this Saturday, which I think is a great idea, rather, than having in person. It's a drive-through, and thank you to our police department for doing this. And 17, Karen Marchese, do you want to take over
Yes.
for the employee?
Yes, Resolution 17 is a termination from Youth and Recreation. And if you have any questions, of course, on any of these, you can ask me. Number 18 is the hiring of a part-time employee, Judy Smith, in the Building, Plumbing, and Housing and Neighborhood Preservation Department as a part-time clerk. And number 19 is a reinstatement of a police officer, Sean M. Trapper. Number 20 is the appointment of a laborer temporary in the Sanitation Department, Dean Murtowski. And if you have any questions about that, please do ask. Number 21 is the authorization of a student intern, Jill Haney, a student at Bryan and Stratton, and she lives in Cheektowaga. So her internship will be effective September through December 31st, 2020 in the police department. We have a reappointment to the Board of Assessment Review. David Burkhardt has requested reappointment, and his term would end September 30th, 2025. And number 23 is reappointments to the Cheektowaga Conservation Advisory Committee, and their terms would run effective October 15th, 2020 through October 15th, 2022. Frederick Beeman, Lorraine Alosio, Rosalia Becker, Robert Becker, Joseph Fisher, Patricia Beeman, and also ex officio members, Jane Weirchick, Jesse Jesnowski, and Stan Kesnowski. And then we have one travel authorization. We haven't had travel authorizations in a while, of course. In the police department, the North American Standard Truck Inspection Training Part B, and police officer Michael Menth has recommended to attend. Total cost to the town shall not exceed $830. And the training is being held November 9th through the 13th in Albany, New York. And that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you, Karen. And under the suspension of rules, I think we have, this is the authorization for the license agreement with Erie County Water Authority pertaining to our new radio system tower that the police department has been working on. Thank you, Brian Gould. We have Brian Gould and Lisa Bolognese here, but they worked very hard on trying to get this a license agreement signed with Erie County Water Authority. to use some of their space on one of the towers. And it looks like we're going to auction on some surplus vehicles. I assume these are, I think I talked to Rick Rushniak. Rick, so you must have told
Right.
Kevin Gazik to move forward on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
good timing right now. The little plow guys are out looking for vehicles that should give us a good price.
Mhm.
So it's a perfect timing for it.
Yes, I hope so. So we have quite a few there going up for bid. It'll be on the Auctions International website. If anybody is interested, please look out. It'll probably be up in the next few days. I know it takes a while to get all the paperwork together and get it up and the auction started, but it's through Auctions International, right?
Yeah, they got to come in and do pictures, get
Yeah.
things ready. So it'll be probably up by next meeting.
Oh, okay. So you're thinking 2 weeks?
Yeah, by the time they get everything categorized, pictures on it and get it online.
It's quite a bit there. I agree. Okay, so anybody have any questions on that? Okay,
Hey, Diane,
yes.
Diane, it's John again.
John.
Just with regard to this suspension, Anthony put it together at the last minute. I would just ask, I circulated this one for sure. So if Councilmember Rusniak can double check that and just make sure with Kevin that all the numbers are right. But in the future, if we could kindly get something of this, this was pretty voluminous in terms of, the vehicles and whatnot. If we could get it, a few days ahead of time, it would help a little bit. So if we could just double check those VINs and everything, just make sure.
Okay, I'll double check for you.
Yeah, normally, yeah,
you.
Rick, it should have actually been in last Thursday with the regular meeting.
Yeah, I thought Kevin was bringing it over. He thought I
Oh.
was bringing it over. I got to talk to him Saturday and I realized he didn't get it in. So I thought, oh, Monday we'll get it. And then Monday was the holiday. That's why it took so long. But,
Yeah,
it was-
and it
it
should
was
go
my
to
fault.
town attorney's office also, and they shouldn't have just, I don't know who entered that. Did Anthony just enter that, John? How did it get in there?
Anthony did in conjunction with the clerk's office. Yes. Yeah, he did.
Because
He whipped it
normally,
up.
they give us a
Right.
heads up that that's going in, but I didn't get anything till
Well,
4.
I talked to you at last Friday about it. We should talk about putting it on a waiver.
Did I talk about the waiver? I just told you to put it in. for
Yeah,
me.
well, we didn't know it was gonna get in on time when we talked, so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it's fine, Rick. I think this really, it's just, I can understand Attorney Dujak's point that they need to check
Yeah.
everything, but I don't-
Learning curve for me.
Yeah, does anybody have a problem with it? We can put it through because I agree with you. We got to get this going. We can't wait any longer. So we'll just have to check it, and if there's some mistakes in it, we'll amend it at the next meeting as far as VIN numbers, or when we approve these bids, we can just amend those.
Yeah, they'll be double checked when they put them up for bid too.
Okay,
go through the
I'm
same- they
saying,
go through the
but the
same-
attorney's office, that's
Right.
their job also. They want to make sure.
Yep.
And I understand that, so, okay, good. So next item would be the, I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss current litigation regarding 8 Delray and Gullum Mowski versus Town of Cheektowaga and the lease of real property. So I'll make the motion. And I,
Supervisor, I'd like to
second.
amend the motion to add discussion to the employment record of a particular person. And then I would join that motion.
I think the wording has to be employment history.
Yeah, I don't have the precise wording in front of me, but I'd like to discuss the employment of a particular person.
A particular employee currently, or is it a different type of person?
It may be a different type of person.
Particular, okay, it just says particular person. So I can put in employment history of a particular person. Okay, I made the motion, seconded by
I'll second.
Councilmember Nowak. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It is 6:04, but by the time we get in the meeting, it might be a little later, so I will let you know, Madam Clerk, what time it exactly started, okay?
That was good.